Hey everybody, good morning. Crypto Mentor 99. How you doing? Hey, back by popular demand, and I mean popular demand. Laura Taylor from the Digibyte Awareness team is fresh off the Blanco. Did I say that right, Laura? Blanco? The
Yeah.
Blanco, Texas meetup. And I'm like, we got a lot to talk about. Let's do a video. So, Laura, good to see you again.
Thanks. Thanks so much for having me back. We've been busy, buddy.
Oh gosh. So I read a few tweets here and then over the weekend, and I'll just kind of let you kind of take the lead here. So, how was the meetup? Um, what did you like? What was maybe a few takeaways? And I'll give you all the rope you need, Laura, this morning to talk about it.
Okay. The meetup was amazing. So just a little background. Ben had come to Wilmington for our meetup, part of his adoption tour, and one of the things I kind of gave him a gripe about was that Digibyte isn't spoken about. When you're talking about the UTXOs, like they're like Bitcoin, Litecoin, and something else. You know what I mean? So I was like, what do we need to do as a community to become, more part of the conversation? And he was like, you guys need to kind of get out there more, like in those physical things. He's like, we're doing this meetup in Texas. You could be a part of that. And so after he left, we decided to host a booth. And in fact, we decided to host two booths at that meetup because there's just so much happening with Digibyte. So we did, they were side by side, but one was really focused on the DigiID application, and then one was
Hmm.
just focused on what, the Digibyte blockchain in general is, about. So we had a lot of representation there. And so I reached out to the community and said, we want to do this booth, but we're going to need some help. And whoa, I mean, we started a planning channel just for that group, and that like 20 people joined, and everybody pitched in. They shared, Crypto Deal 2 on Twitter. He did our marketing materials for us. We have people who volunteered to they sent materials to the venue for us to give away, like things on Twitter. He gave us poker chips, which were really popular, and they were really cool. I should have saved one, but I didn't. And then another team member, Tamara, she sent us T-shirts. And we just got a lot of support from people. Not to mention the people who physically came there. I mean, we had people come from Canada to come help us with the booth.
Wow.
The developer who developed the DigiID standalone app, and he's done a lot of other things too, like DigiSweeper, and just worked on other parts of the project. He flew down from Canada for 2 nights.
Hmm.
We had another team member come down from Canada. We had some local team members that just drove in from a couple hours away, and those guys brought in like all of our heavy stuff, like the coolers and things like that, because we gave away water. And one guy, I was like, I think it would be cool if we had like a game or something. It turned out to be like torrential rain for most of the day, but we still got to use it. I said, what about like if we had like cornhole or something, like the bags game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I said, maybe we had something like that. People would like hang out around our booth and we could talk to them. And so he built it. Like the next day, he sent us pictures. He's like, oh, so you want, are these okay? He built us the boards, painted them, got the bags, and then put the Digibyte logo on the board. I mean, it's just cool. Like, I love that team. And then there was a guy who came in who is really like a media specialist. I think it's Houston SEO on Twitter. His name's Chris, but he came in and did all these amazing interviews and took tons of pictures, and he's putting that together for us. He's already put out like a little commercial together of testimonies of why people like Digibyte. And then we had Jana, who was our coordinator. She was like the first person I reached out to because she is on the Digibyte awareness team, and she said, her strength is organization. I said, well, if you can organize this group. And so she put together a Google Doc, and we had time slots of when we were going to be at the booth and who was bringing what. And just, she organized all of us, really. She was kind of like the mama of the booth. Of the booth.
Wow.
She also, she printed C card phrases that were beautiful, rented tablecloths and brought them, and it was very professional outfit. And then at the last minute, there's this guy who, I guess it was maybe a week and a half before the event who reached out, and he lost his sight in 2011, and he was like, I really want to come. And he was like trying to figure out how to come, so he decided to take a bus from New Orleans to Texas to be able to go there and help us at the booth. And so, I mean, that's amazing dedication that I saw from all of those team members that came from so far away and with so much effort. It was a beautiful experience to work with all of them in real life. Because again, we've been talking on our Telegram channel, so we've gotten to know each other. But when we meet in real life, it's always like, you know. So it was really fun.
Well, we talked a little bit about this during the pre-interview, but I interviewed, Stephen Kendall yesterday about CoinFest UK 2019, and I lost the file. It got, anyhow, we've got to do it again. But in that interview, and I'm not into numbers all the time, like, hey, how big was the event? But he had just mentioned that he thought, again, maybe not, it's a direct correlation to the meetup down in Texas, but he said over, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that maybe there was 600 or 700 people at CoinFest UK, not that came by their booth, but just total. Could you give us a little feel, maybe take just a stab at how many people were down there?
We're waiting for the final numbers. We were asking if they had gotten the final tally. If I had to estimate, and it was a little crazy because it was a one-day event and it was about 8 hours long. But I think at the max, I would say, and I could be wrong, probably at least 500 or 600 people.
Oh, cool.
I think they were hoping for more, but the weather was insane in Texas. Like I have a video I took because I was going to try and interview the guys in Manchester, but it was so loud under the tent because of the rain. We couldn't hear. But the tent was cool. It was like a big circus tent. And we were all up underneath it. But when you had breaks in the rain, people would walk out. But it was pretty packed in there for several hours straight. I mean, we probably had, most of the time we had 4 or 5 people at our booth, and we were talking to people as they came around almost continuously all day. Poor Matthew, the developer, who came down because he was our tech guy. So if anybody had a question, we're like, go to Matthew, go to Matthew. So he got in there, and he didn't even have a chance to put his bag down. He just stood there holding his bag, and just right when he walked up, there was people just asking questions, and he talked for like 8 hours. We just kept like bringing him food and water, And so the next day he was like, "Oh man, I don't think I've ever talked that much in my life." But he was great. He was amazing.
That's awesome. So let me ask you the same question I asked Stephen Kendall yesterday, and I could probably guess maybe how you're going to answer it. But so I asked Stephen. I said the people that came to the your booth in the CoinFest UK meetup Thursday, Friday, Saturday last week, and I said, was it the full spectrum of, hey, how do you pronounce that word, DigiByte, all the way to people that were like, I can't believe you're here, I love it, I'm an investor. So the people that kind of came to the booth, can you give us a little feel, the spectrum of, hey, tell me about it, to what do you do, to, hey, I love you guys,
Oh, that's a good question. I would say, most of the people who came to the booth were at least familiar with DigiByte, and then we had some people who were hardcore big fans of DigiByte, which was also really exciting. And then we had more. It was definitely the minority of the people who came up who never even heard of it, and that was really fun too. Because once you explain it to them in relation to Bitcoin and Litecoin, they got really excited.
Yeah.
They were like, "Wow, that's another chain supporting the same goals." And so that was really fun. It's always fun to talk to new people about it, and so it was a wide mix, but I would say majority of people knew about DigiByte, and then there was a few really big diehard fans. And it was a beautiful thing meeting these members of the community. And like we were talking before in the pre-interview, I was just really inspired by the people I met. because most people who are like kind of bigger into Digibyte and they're excited about its rise in market cap, excited about its rise in price when that comes, like, and they talked about like what would they do, and none of these people were like, I'm gonna buy a yacht. They were like, I'm gonna take care of my family, I'm gonna take care of my friends, and then I want to take care of the community. And I heard so many
Wow.
amazing ideas for ways to help the broader community, whether it was supporting like a nonprofit for a culinary school for kids in need, or supporting those with disabilities that don't have that that support between the first 6 months of when they become disabled and when they actually get their their disability payments out.
Wow.
And so, I mean, these are problems I didn't think about, and it was just interesting to hear people's perspectives and see how they want to fix things. And that's, I would say, the general attitude of the community, whether it's the Digibyte awareness team or other factions coming up, like the Digibyte Unlimited. They're working on marketing materials for it. It's just this thing where people say, "Here's a problem. What can we do to solve it? And how can we have the community come help us solve it?" And so it was really inspirational. It was exhausting, but it was really, really fun. Really
Wow.
fun.
So as you're speaking, I'm writing down questions on my little yellow notepad. So I wrote down a question. So a lot of times, like again, I'm 61 and I look back and I'm like, well, I did this thing and I did this seminar or something. And I'm like, oh, I wish I would have thought of this. Or is there anything that maybe people can learn from you? Not that you did wrong or not any of that stuff, but is there something that maybe when the event was over and you were going home and you're like, you know what? I was thinking about, I mean, is there something, I don't want to say that you would do different, but is there something that maybe you learned that you want to add for a next event that maybe other people could learn from you now? You know what I mean?
Absolutely, and I think that's a really good question. And there's definitely things, our venue was so different from the CoinFest venue because,
Yeah.
We were on like a dude ranch, and they were in a technology center. So between the weather and everything, we didn't have Wi-Fi. And so I think one of the big things would be able to have Wi-Fi and either be able to show some of those commercials that Aman
Yeah.
and those guys put together just to show
Yeah.
the quality of the work of the community, and also to show, Matthew was trying to explain DigiID and the password app to people, but didn't have like having some sort of demo of that digitally is, I think, really important because it's hard to visualize what's going on. So definitely, you know, having a good Wi-Fi and being
Sure.
able to present, technology, at a technology conference,
Yeah.
that would be a big one. The other thing was, we made these really nice flyers, but a lot of people didn't pick up the flyers because they didn't have a place to put them. So I think next time to maybe shrink those down into bite-sized pieces where it's more like a bookmark size that people can stick in their pocket.
Sure.
And I got a lot of questions like, where, if I want to purchase Digibyte, where can I do it? Like those basic questions. And I think that just as a bookmark itself, like how do you purchase Digibyte? There's different ways to do it, whether you do a swap exchange or you use Coinbook, or, if you need a fiat pairing, you can use Coinbook or BertBase, or, so there's different, I think just that level of question I hadn't really thought about so much. So I think, and we are like kind of all catching our breath after the events. Same for the guys in UK. So we're going to put together like lessons that we learned, things that worked. Like honestly, what worked the best, and this is going to be so crazy, was I had some temporary tattoos made, and they were really cheap. And that was the best marketing tool. I mean, everybody wanted one. They
Yeah.
wanted ones to take home to their, I got like 500 of them made, and it was super cheap. But they were taking them home, and we tattooed all of those influencers. We tattooed Bix, we tattooed Jay Snip, we tattooed Ben, the Beards of Bitcoin guys. They were good. I mean, everybody was such good sports, and I mean, a couple of these guys let us put it on the back of their heads. It was just a fun day. But so people are walking around with these Digibite tattoos, and so people were singing them, and they're like, where are you getting that? And the other thing, though, with those tattoos and with marketing materials in general, we use the logo a lot. But Chris, our media guy, had a really good point. Is when you're doing that, people get the D confused with dash sometimes, and until we become more known, that's going to be a little confusing. So he was like, next time you do that, maybe you could do the whole Digibyte blockchain where it actually says Digibyte.
Oh, okay.
And I think that that's a really good point. So, yeah, we've learned some things, but and just the pop rocks were a huge hit too. We made Digibyte rocks because we put like little.
I saw that, yeah, on Twitter. Yeah.
Well, and it's so funny because I've been so busy in my brain's like in 40 different directions. And so when Matthew got in from Canada the night before, and I showed him the Digibyte rocks, he was like, "Oh, that's like my website. My website is digibyte.rocks." And I was like, "Oh yeah, And then the next morning I woke up and I was like, "Those Digibyte rocks, that's like Matthew's website." So I said, "Matthew, that's like your website." He goes, "Laura, that's what I said last night." I'm like, that's just so tough. But so it was just kind of funny how it all worked out. I hadn't planned it that way, but it was just fun. We had a good time. But yeah, the simpler the better. I think people like candy, and we gave away socks and T-shirts and stuff too. So if you ask the community if they want to send materials straight to we were traveling. Most of us were flying, so we just had this material sent straight to the venue. And the guys at Wild West Crypto Show were really cool about that, and they just brought it with them the morning of, so it saved us a lot of hassle. So
let me ask you another question. Sometimes I haven't ran into a lot of people like this, but so I like when I think about you, right? When I'm in my house, I'm like, hey, I'm going to interview Laura tomorrow. So I kind of see Laura as the person, right? And then Laura as the Digibyte awareness team lady. So again, you've got your own personal life away from Digibyte.
Not really, but go ahead.
So I don't want to say you personally, or not that you're speaking for Digibyte, but kind of again a little putting you on the spot a little bit, but like where do you go from here? Or I'm not saying so much what event are you planning, not that so much, but you could comment, but just like, what was your kind of takeaway? Like, I want to do more, what do I need to work on personally, or what do I need to learn, or just kind of say something about that, about any of that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I learned a lot. Because we run a local meetup here, and during the bear market, it's kind of like, getting people to come out is tough. And I have to say, there was a part of me that was kind of like, gosh, how do we, I was missing the energy that we had last year, and going to this meetup kind of re-energized me.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope what we do, not just for me personally, but for us as a community, is we see these events that we can participate in, and there's nothing special about me. There's nothing special about Dean and Ben and Cedric. It's not we're just normal people that decided that we wanted to host a booth somewhere, and through that we were able to make connections and meet new people and get the word out, and anybody can do that.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I hope what we get from this, and we're going to be working on some materials for people as far as instructions on how they can do what we did. And like I said, it was nice because there were such different events, different types of events, so we can get like a broad perspective. But I'm hoping that what this does is inspire the rest of the community to get out and look and say, hey, is there a conference in my area? Like, you don't have to fly to Texas. You don't have to fly to the UK. You can look in your area and say, is there something here? Anything, is there like a local blockchain conference that's going on, and you can contact them and say, hey, I'm knowledgeable about Digibyte, and I'd like to host a booth, or I'd like to come and present, or I'd like to come give materials out just to educate the community. So I'm hoping that it inspires more people to do that, and to know that they have a community around them that will support that if they just reach out.
Yeah.
So,
well, I told Stephen Kendall yesterday, this was the second time I interviewed him. I interviewed him maybe November, December, and I could tell as soon as he came on my Skype screen, after like 15 seconds, I'm like, I mean, this guy, you don't even have to ask him a question. I mean, he's just out of the gate, super outgoing. And I said to him yesterday, I said, I kind of view, like sometimes I like to give examples in like word pictures. And I said, I kind of feel like the crypto community is kind of like an orchestra, right? So people that maybe have seen, Stephen Kendall interviewed by me or on, YouTube go, well, I could never be like that. Well, let's say that Stephen's the tuba, okay? And then we've got Laura Taylor, and people say, well, I could never quit my job and join the Digibyte awareness team. So you're like the clarinet, okay? And
They should
other
not call me a
people,
tuba.
I mean, it's kind of everybody, again, the word picture, everybody kind of has their own instrument, and just play your notes, play your song. The tuba doesn't need to be the clarinet. You know what I mean?
I think that that's a wonderful analogy. I really do. It's an analogy of metaphor, but whatever. It's wonderful the way you describe it because, yeah, I would never expect anybody to do something crazy like I did. That was pretty weird. That was pretty bold and probably counter-logical to people looking from the outside in. But that's what I felt driven to do.
Yeah.
I'm not telling anybody to do what I did. But, tap into what your own passion is. And if you're passionate about this project, or any project for that matter, tap into your own passion, your own talents.
Yeah.
And you can give those talents, and in that you're honing your own skills. Like, for me to be, kind of a spokesperson, that's definitely out of my wheelhouse, and you were the first one who dragged me out of my computer.
This little guy.
Out of a camera, and you were like, all right, we're doing this. But but I needed that. I mean,
Yeah.
I needed the push, and then Ben pushed me pushed me too. It's like you kind of get these community members that are like, I see this in you. I think you can do this, and I think you can help in there. And so, you just never know where the path takes you. It was never my plan to do YouTube interviews.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but that's just how the path goes. I think everybody kind of just follows their own, like you said, their own sound, their own instrument,
Yeah.
and it's the individuality within the decentralization that makes it so powerful.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah, I
good.
think that's a really good way to describe it. We all have an instrument, and no instrument is more or less important really than the other.
Yeah,
Because a lot of people are like, oh, well, you're a community leader. Well, sure, I'm a community leader, but you have to have a community to lead, right? So we didn't have Digibyte supporters. I would just be some freak sitting by myself on my phone.
Right.
It was
Sure.
the community that allowed me to become a leader.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's awesome. So we've done a little bit, I mean, not that we're ready to close, but I always give the person that I'm interviewing kind of the last word. So again, we've done a few, a handful of interviews. So you could kind of, Laura, answer that question personally, but just kind of what would you want someone to know about, again, with all due respect, you, Digibyte, a meetup, what would you want to leave the people listening to us right now with?
I think, and it kind of goes back to our very first interview. I actually watched our first interview a couple weeks ago because it's been so long since I've seen it. And it kind of goes back to that same original message, is that we need these strong physical communities. And what the work that you're doing, the work that John Moore is doing, the work that Ben's doing,
Yeah.
these initiatives to get out, to get boots on the ground, to get people gathered together, looking in each other's eyes. Because there was people who came up to the booth who didn't know about Digibyte, and I never would have connected with them online. They need to see real people working towards something. That level, that early adopter level, they need that physical interaction, and it can't be replicated. Even through Skype, even through YouTube, it can't be replicated.
That's great. Yep.
So I hope that people get inspired and encouraged by the work that we did this last weekend, to know that they can do it themselves, and that this is a large decentralized community, and you don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to wait for someone to say, "Hey, will you do this?" You can just do it, and tell people, "Hey, this is what I'm doing, and this is what I need help with," and open that up to the support of the community to help you get done what you want to get done. And I have to say, as a receiver of the support and help, it's truly a beautiful thing, and it makes me very hopeful for the future of
Hmm.
Digibyte, not just in its technology, but a project without a strong community, I think, will struggle even if their technology is good.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think we need them both. And a lot of people say, "Well, I'm no developer," and I used to be like, "I'm no developer. I'm just nobody." The developers need us too, just like we need them. And so don't just count just because you don't know code that you can't also be an asset to Digibyte.
No, that's good. All right, everybody, there you have it. Laura Taylor, Digibyte Awareness Team Extraordinaire. You heard it here first. So, Laura, again, thanks so much. We're going to do this again. And yeah, thanks for sharing your experiences from the meetup down in Texas.
Oh, thanks for letting me. I was really glad that you let me come on and talk today. I've been dying to say
Yeah,
something.
we'll do it again for sure, I promise.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Laura.
Bye.
Bye.